What do you think is going on at Area 51 right now? If it's not aliens, and if it's not, they don't have ET there, it's obviously still expanding. So I'm sure you've looked through historic satellite images, and you can see that they're still building new hangars. They're still building new facilities. It's still expanding. And there's a bunch of other down at the Yucca dry lake beds on there. They have that big drone base, I believe, is what it's for. So maybe we can use that and kind of segue into UCAVs in general. Do you think that's
I
what's
mean,
going
yeah,
on there right
Area
now?
51 is a large facility. I mean, there's potentially dozens of programs going on out there at any given time. Some of them are airframe related, some of them have to do with subsystems, etc. But it's the place where America goes to hide and fly its most exotic technologies. And I think if you were to walk your mom out there, right, and had total access to look in every door, a lot of it would be really disappointing. You're going to see fragile, kind of weird looking airplanes that are, cheap, relatively inexpensive test articles that are not high performance, that test one area of a specific technology set. And some of it's going to be really cool looking and super cutting edge. But um, everything from hypersonics is a big deal now. Obviously, quick access to space is big. There's a new hangar out there. I've written a little bit about that. Some of the ideas, I think, what's going on with their space. It's on the very south side of the base. Huge, more long than wide hangar, so it's not very different than our normal flying wing, unmanned or manned stealthy airframe that we're used to. So something else is going on in that particular hangar. And we know the RQ-180. That's something that is basically gray disclosed. I mean, this is a high altitude, long endurance drone unmanned system that has a very similar technology set and mission as the RQ-4 Global Hawk, but it can penetrate. It cannot just fly over enemy airspace. It can do it and persist over long periods of time. And this technology is absolutely key to all our battle plans in the future, from networking to surveillance to targeting, etc. Being able to put something deep over enemy airspace at a very high altitude and let it loiter and watch patterns of life and provide targeting, like I say, targeting, networking, etc. Um, that's the ultimate enabler we need. We know that aircraft was built. I mean, it's wink, wink. The Air Force has kind of made that clear, and so and that was possibly also a risk eliminate or a risk reduction aircraft for what became the B-21 bomber today. At the time it was the next generation bomber. We know Bob Gates didn't want it in the late 2000s, and something happened, and all of a sudden he was on board. And so likely there was a demonstrator, potentially the same aircraft, that was once again said, "Hey, well, these technologies are really capable. We can build a much better bomber than we have in the B-2 today, and it can do a lot of different things." The B-21 is not a bomber. It is a multi-role platform, from everything we can tell, that's going to fly at higher altitude than the B-2 and be much stealthier across a wider band, much larger number of bands of radars, and be able to do things like once again, networking, targeting, potential electronic warfare, command and control, etc. So there's a lot of things there's a lot to do out there. I mean, we saw the stealth helicopters, the Black Hawks, come out of the Bin Laden raid. They were out there. Nobody had even thought about that. We thought that the stealth helicopters died with the Comanche program. It didn't. A lot of that technology was ported over, and they built these things. So there's plenty to do. I think the biggest thing that they're doing out there that is undisclosed, and I've written a huge piece, probably the most important piece I've ever written, in my opinion, is about unmanned combat air vehicles. And that is something that is, the size of a fighter jet. This is not little drones. These are not manned teaming systems. This is not necessarily to fly alongside an F-16, to work as an expanded magazine and something that the pilot can control for tactical reasons. These are networked, high-end unmanned combat air vehicles that can travel 2, 3, 4 times the combat radius of a manned fighter, penetrate deep into enemy airspace, and make decision cycles, because they're networked together within line of sight, that absolutely would crush the enemy's decision cycle. This technology was the biggest thing since the jet engine in the 2000s. They proved it openly that this was it. UCAVs are here. It's going to revolutionize everything. This was in the early 2000s, guys. Think of what a cell phone looked like in the early 2000s, okay? And by late 2009, 2010, it just all went dark. And the Navy proceeded, At the X-47, they kind of did their own thing with that. That went astray. But the Air Force, it's amazing. The biggest thing that they were so excited for, you can't even find you can't even find the terminology in any documentation from the Air Force about their air combat plan for the future. So I believe it went dark, and it's fully developed. It's in a semi-operational proto state, similar to the F-117 before it was declassified. Likely lives out at Tonopah Test Range Airport or Area 51. And once the F-35 program is safe and it's getting there, they'll disclose it because it competes directly with like an F-35 on a lot of missions. And they'll disclose it, and it'll be the next best thing. And we're already seeing that now internationally. UCAVs are now being developed everywhere, and everybody wants them. So we're getting there. But I believe that technology is already mature.